Hello, beautiful humans. Thank you for joining Interface by Apidays. My name is Jen Janot. I'm the co-organizer of Denver API Meetup, as well as the host of a podcast called Shit You Don't Want to Talk About. Starting our segment of the new API tech stack is Eric Newcomer, CTO of WSO, simplifying cloud native engineering and accelerating invitation with digital PaaS. Hi, Eric.
Hey, Jen. How you
Thank
doing?
you for doing well. Thank you for joining today.
You bet.
And again, he is the CTO at WSO2. Thanks, Eric.
Thanks, Jen. And thanks, everybody, for joining. I'm, as Jen mentioned, with WSO2, CTO here, and we're well known for our leading products in the API management, customer identity access management space. But today I want to talk about something new that we've been working on. I want to talk a little bit first about why it's something that we're working on, then I'll talk about what it is we're working on. So, first of all, the first factor that we're working on is distributed, that we're causing us to think about something new and create something new, is the distributed computing trend. It's very kind of an oversimplification on this slide here, but the trend has been toward greater and greater distributed computing over time. Of course, starting with the mainframe when you had one application per machine, basically, through the desktop distributed apps with the PCs connected up, the web connected up, and now the mobile apps, the wearable apps, edge apps, and in the future, metaverse apps and distributed apps. And we don't know, of course, very clearly what metaverse and Web 3.0 are going to be. It's a lot of hype and moving things. Things are moving around there a lot, but we can be pretty sure there are going to be more APIs and more integrations and more distribution of applications across multiple devices and servers than ever. Some industry analysts predict that API growth is going to continue at a rate of 70% a year for the next several years. Interesting fact is in this trend also is that a mobile phone that you have in your pocket is about 1,000 times more powerful than those old mainframes where computing began. And that's caused a consequence because now things have changed and evolved such that parts of the program that you interact with that used to run on the mainframe run on the mobile app now, and we have causes things to be rejigged, not only because of what's running on the mobile app, but what's running on the server side, what's running on the cloud has to change. We have microservices on the server side, scalable data stores, and all these kinds of trends that just are continuing to explode and challenge us when we create new applications to deploy them out to these highly distributed environments with plethora of APIs. Another trend that we're taking into account here in planning out what we're doing as to why it is that customers are now expecting to interact with their banks and their retailers, their healthcare providers, transportation, you name it, through the digital channel. We're seeing the emergence of such things as the digital double in the IoT world, which takes the place of a human with respect to how a device is interacting with you through AI or what it might be for your smart devices. And this is causing a shift in the industry. Sometimes it's called the digital disruption trend as well, where new generation of consumers really are judging businesses according to the experience they're getting from these digital channels, the mobile channel to the web channel, how easy it is to use, how frictionless is it to do business. Something has to be personalized in real time, geosensitive, predictive. All the benefits of cloud computing apply here with respect to being always on, never crashing, having scalability, agility to iteratively develop and improve the experience. So that's really solving the problems of the way the customer wants to see and continuously getting better. Another challenge associated with this is that these digital experiences have to be differentiated so that the companies stand out from one another and can attract customers and keep them in competition with other companies in the same industry. Fast famous example in retail, of course, the Amazon website, very intuitive, very easy to use, constantly improving. And retailers have had to build comparable websites to stay competitive, such as Walmart, Home Depot, Macy's, and others. And those that haven't, such as Lord & Taylor, for example, the Hudson Group, has not managed to create such a great usable website. And you may not know this because guess what? They are losing business to their competitors. And so this quote is from Jeff Lawson, who is one of the observers of phenomena, founder of Twilio. He says, we're now in a position where you have to build your differentiation into your digital apps or lose business or die. It's not build or buy the IT departments face. It's build a new differentiated digital app experience for your customers or lose your business, which has implications beyond this in terms of now every company has to use their own expertise from their business side as to how they're differentiating, competing in the marketplace to deliver that differentiation through the digital channel and become like a software company, creating this software and building software products. IT projects are therefore out the window. There's no more, let's have a planning phase and design phase and a construction phase and a deployment phase and we're done. No, it's let's get something out there. Let's iterate. Let's improve. Let's constantly treat this as a product. Uh, Mark Zuckerberg famously said in one of his speeches that they had to figure out Facebook as they went along. He said, we knew what we wanted to build, but you can't solve the problem until you're working on it. And it's the same here. Until you're working on one of these digital apps that differentiates you from the competition, you're really not going to know how to build it, how the customers are going to react, how to solve the customer problem. Innovation is not the idea that you have. It's the way in which you solve the customer's problem in a way in which they feel that's a better solution than somebody else has for how they interact with how they want to do shopping or transportation or restaurant reservations, whatever it is. You're not going to know that you're hitting the mark until you get out there, deliver a product, get the feedback, iterate on it. So that's respect. The trend is to become, every company now has to be a technology company, create software, and build these digital products. Okay, so now in terms of challenges, how do you do this? One of the ways that people are turning to help them with this is automation, and this is a photo that shows the analogy of containers. We have containers for software now, and we have container orchestrators like this crane that's picking up a container and putting it on a ship or a truck or a train because containers run anywhere, they go anywhere, and you have the orchestration that automates their placement and puts them into production. So you get results into production. You get those products into production really quickly. You can iterate quickly, change quickly, get the feedback, and improve it. So this is really helping. But the observation that we have about this is that it actually adds a whole layer of complexity if you haven't been dealing with Kubernetes for the container orchestration before. That adds a layer of complexity. It adds a requirement on skill sets. It's already hard to find enough skilled developers, never mind those with the skills to run Kubernetes, which are in high demand and very specialized. The point here is that maybe even if you get to the point of setting something up, there's going to be a problem. We know this because of Murphy's Law and just the way that things work or sometimes don't work. And if they stop working, then you have this troubleshooting guide that Kubernetes from the Kubernetes website to kind of tell you how to figure out what's going on. Nobody really needs this when you're trying to innovate, trying to get things out fast. You got this whole automation that can help you, but it's like you're having to set up an assembly line or something. There's a lot of investment, a lot of work, a lot of time and effort involved in setting up and making sure the automation is running. So what can we do about this? Now let's talk about what it is we're doing to help. So Kubernetes now we can assume is going to be everywhere as the deployment platform. I think this is evidenced by the fact that all of the public cloud providers offer Kubernetes of some flavor. AWS, Google, Azure, Oracle, IBM, DigitalOcean, everyone. You can get it on-prem as well with Rancher and VMware, OpenShift. So Kubernetes is a platform, a deployment platform of choice. So now we can assume this. The automation is part of daily life. And we can start to build on top of it, build a platform on top of Kubernetes to abstract some of the capabilities of Kubernetes and make them available through multi-cloud environments, through offering the same capabilities to the application development, build, deployment process, regardless of which Kubernetes is going to be the deployment target. So we can do that, right? So what does that mean for some of the other problems that we've talked about, the other challenges? that we've talked about? Well, in particular, one of them is solved by having a platform pre-built that abstracts Kubernetes and solves the other problems of development in a highly distributed environment that we were talking about before, getting new code out there, getting new APIs, integrations, and services developed and deployed as quickly as possible. A lot of companies spend a lot of time putting platforms together for assembling the development tools they want, or figuring out what services they use in a cloud provider, figuring out how to do, as I mentioned before, the automation for the deployment pipeline. Why not just have everything packaged? You may not be able to buy your differentiated digital experience that you need to build, but you can buy the platform on which to build it. So spend your time building, not putting a platform together, building the digital experience, and that help with that differentiation. So we we strongly believe there's a way to pre-package the capabilities you need for this type of work, and this is what we've been doing. On top of that, there's a whole best practice around how to do this. The concepts here are probably very familiar to the attendees of this conference around API first design, microservice granularity through domain-driven design, how you create your autonomous teams and speed up innovation through breaking up the problem and iteratively deploy subsets of application functionality through the agility that's given by independent microservices and automation. So a lot of best practices around that for using of the platform is also important. So what is this platform? Let's talk a bit about this. This is our product called Choreo that we've created as a result of these responding to these industry trends and trying to help make life easier for developers trying to cope with these challenges of distributed apps and creating differentiated digital apps as well. We have at the top the solutions that strategy that results in the solution architecture and the system architecture. This is where the best practices come in about API first design, the right level of granularity for microservices, how that all maps to business functions and so on. You come into the tool and you start working on your projects and components. We have from the marketplace a palette of services and connectors and APIs to draw from in building composite applications. And these APIs and connectors can be SaaS APIs, legacy systems, technology connectors for data stores, messaging, and other just utilities such as email or Gmail or SMS APIs and so on. So you have your palette of connectors and APIs to draw from when you start building your projects. And you have for the enterprise developer, a great developer experience through VS Code in which you can see your distributed or highly distributed application graphically. I'll show you what that looks like in a moment. See the full source code, so you have full control over all of the complicated aspects that need to be dealt with, all of the tweaks and special characteristics that make your app stand out from the others. Very easy to do. Once the code is done, it gets stored automatically in GitHub, automatically goes through a Docker file build, test, deploy, Kubernetes deploy, out into production, for development first, and then production, and automatically publishes the API, which then can be managed by the API management system represented here by the developer portal. So we have full API management capabilities here, but what's new is all these other capabilities around having a marketplace of palettes of APIs and connectors to construct your new APIs and integrations and services and automatically deploy them out into Kubernetes. Once they're in that developer portal, you can work with them as you would work with any API management capability to set the throttles, to set the limits, to set the policies, the security, and monitor them for monetization and so forth. Everything that's needed for those great, highly interactive end user applications on the mobile phone and on a website. It can be created very simply, easily with a great developer experience, complete abstraction of Kubernetes, click of a button, put it out there, test it out, get the feedback, and iterate and rinse and repeat. And the platform includes, as I mentioned, the management, observability for seeing if anything went wrong, artificial intelligence to help you develop things correctly, and security to make sure everything is bulletproof once it's deployed. So that's what's going on there. And we're looking at this building on top of Kubernetes to make everything easier, simpler, and creating the platform that abstracts away the complexity that you don't need to deal with when you want to just create your new APIs, integrations, and services. Just a bit about the developer experience. This is a screenshot of what it looks like in VS Code to work in Choreo, and you can work on VS Code on your desktop and import the code into Choreo and use it for deployment and build, or you can just develop everything through Choreo in the cloud through the VS Code plugin. The important part here to show is that on the left side of the screen, we have a diagram that illustrates the functions on the vertical axis that's being performed within this API, this integration. In this case, it's an example that comes with Choreo, so you can really get a chance to see what it does. It does COVID statistics, so you see on the horizontal axis the API calls, the connector calls that are involved in implementing this API that you can call to get COVID statistics by population for country, and send the email with the results. On the right-hand side of the page is the code. This is the full code for this diagram. Now we have created in Choreo, we've created Choreo on top of our Ballerina language, which contains syntax for drawing diagrams. The diagrams that are drawn from the Ballerina syntax are active diagrams. When they're edited, they generate code. The code and the diagram are in full sync. We've solved the round trip problem by putting the syntax in the language from which to extract the diagrams, and it works both ways. So we've got a great developer experience there, and this helps you figure out visually and communicate visually what it is you're doing in these highly distributed applications that need to be built today in today's world. We also are making sure that we support in Choreo the hybrid world. Our current products are shown on the left-hand side of the page here, and these could be anyone else's products for API management identity server connecting seamlessly to Choreo, but we will make sure that this is done in the best way possible, automatically and seamlessly through the APIs and connectors that we will ship together with our products, so that Choreo is complementary to our existing environments. And we think that for a long time to come, companies will be running in a hybrid environment with some applications, some integrations, some APIs in the data center, some new programs, especially for new digital applications in the cloud to take advantage of cloud benefits for those digital apps. And here in the cloud, we've got the control plane for creating those APIs and deploying them out, and the data plane, which is in Kubernetes. And this is any Kubernetes that you want to choose. You get the same experience, whatever cloud you're using, Azure, GCP, AWS, on-prem, or whatever, seamlessly working with the apps in the data center, as well as a complement and extension and a capability that allows innovation for those new applications to be done much more quickly. Innovation is all about getting things out to market quickly and iterating them, getting the feedback and improving them. And that's done through an improved syntax. It helps tell computers what to do more easily and helps developers work more easily with that instruction to the computers for what they need to do, and the platform that puts all the pieces together that you need to do the development and the deployment in minutes and hours instead of days or months, and focus on getting those innovative products out there and getting the feedback and iterating and improving so that you get that great customer experience, you get that innovation, and you understand how to solve the problem as quickly as possible. All right, so in summary, we've got Choreo to help address these problems of highly distributed application development with lots and lots of APIs, proliferations of APIs and connectors, and get those new APIs, the composite APIs, scratch-built APIs, integrations, microservices, get them out there hours and days to weeks or months. So just rapid integration, and easily just spend the time on getting those APIs and integrations and services out into production, getting the feedback, simplify the coding. The new syntax we have here is that's our secret sauce, where the computer can be told what to do for a highly distributed environment much more easily, with all multi-protocol APIs supported, all infrastructure that you need, and put the digital platform that deploys things out there, DevOps, simple and fast. It's just there for you. And security and governance, of course, has to be built in. API security is key. Whenever we're deploying an API, we're making sure it's secure, and the DevOps and microservices can all be secured and governed by default. A couple of pointers: homepage for Choreo, contact if you want more information. Choreo is freely available for trying out. So go to the website for Choreo, get a guest account, or use your email to open an account, and you can see the homepage in the back of this screen. Once you log in, you can create APIs, test it out, put them into production, see how it all works, get the feedback, send it to us if you want. get started checking out what this new thing is that we've been working on. All right, with that, I will say thanks, and I turn it back to Jen to see if we have any questions.
Thank you, Eric. I definitely enjoyed your presentation of simplifying cloud and native engineering and accelerating innovation with a digital PaaS. Now, we did have a few questions. I would say the biggest one that comes to mind is WSO2 is using Ballerina. What does adoption look like?
Ballerina's been out for about 6 years now. We just had a major release this last spring, winter, I guess, spring, and I think we're starting to see some adoption. 6 years ago, when it came out, it was kind of a different world for new languages. I think people were trying to settle on one or maybe two languages, and today I think we're seeing many more languages and people understanding that you want the right language for the right job. It's a bit like databases. There's multiple data stores out there for different jobs. And so Ballerina is being recognized. It was recently recognized as one of the top 5 languages for cloud native engineering. So I think I like to say top 5 with a bullet. We're on our way to number 1. So it's starting to get adopted.
Wonderful, thank you. And if I have my own Kubernetes, can I use it?
Absolutely. We have a feature we sort of informally call Bring Your Own Kubernetes. We have a Kubernetes cluster ready for you by default if you just want to use that. But if you have your own Kubernetes cluster you're already paying for, or you want to stand it up in a particular cloud or in a particular data center, we can configure the deployment for that.
Okay. And another big question is, how do you work with serverless production? What does that look like?
So with which?
The serverless production?
Oh, serverless. Thank you. Yeah, so we give a serverless experience in the sense that when somebody's working with Choreo, they don't worry about standing up servers. They just run the code that they create, and that's all run for them. With respect to serverless technologies such as Lambda or Azure Actions, those are on the roadmap for deployment options going forward. Right now, though, in terms of what does somebody want from serverless being, I don't have to stand up the server and run it to execute my code. We provide that kind of experience already.
Awesome. And I'd say this is probably our last question of, what does the customization for the pipeline for CIDC look like?
Well, sure. We have made some, what we call, it's an opinionated platform, as we say. We've made some choices in terms of what works very, very well by default for our environment that we've set up for development and deployment. But we do get questions sometimes from customers about, well, I already have a CI/CD pipeline, or I have a certain tool I want to include in the pipeline. I want to be able to configure and edit things a little bit. So yeah, we have that. That's on the roadmap as well, coming soon to the Choreo platform. We're pretty new with this, as I mentioned, just out in March, or maybe I didn't mention it, but we went GA in March, and well, we've got a good roadmap for the next 2 years, and that's one of the things that's on it.
And once again, and thank you for joining us today, could you let us know where we can go again to find out more information?
Absolutely. Go to the WSO2 website, wso2.com. For Choreo, we'll give you information about all of our products, our API management product, our customer identity access management products. The open source versions of them are downloadable from our website if you want to check those out. And Choreo is available at choreo.io for a free trial, and
Awesome.
take a look at that as well. And we have another software as a service product just coming out this year as well in the identity access management space that I haven't mentioned. It's called Asgardio, and Asgardio and Choreo work together for API security through ID and authorization. So I should mention that as well.
Thank you again, Eric. We really appreciate your time here at Interface.
Thank you very much, Jen. It's been a pleasure.